Hi everyone, my name is Charlie, and today I thought that I might talk about taking your time with books. This is a topic that has come into my head over the last few days, simply because this year I'm thinking of reading some of the writers that I've been putting off. These writers include Lionel Shriver, Hilary Mantel, and John Irving. Then with Lionel Shriver, it's more because I found her prose somewhat impenetrable in the past. I've always said that she writes in this American style that I find quite pretentious, that uses 10 words where it could use one, and sometimes I feel like she is being grandiloquent for the sake of being grandiloquent. These are just three of the authors that I want to tackle this year. It's because I have not necessarily struggled with their works in the past. With Hilary Mantel, it's because when I was younger I had a lot of preconceived notions as to what writing has to be, and Hilary Mantel's Wolf Hall is written in a style that I'm not accustomed to. This is back in the days when if it wasn't third person past tense, I wasn't looking at it. But this year I want to read Wolf Hall, and I want to read its sequel because I am quite fascinated with the Tudor period in history, and I want to see what Hilary Mantel's take is on it. And everybody seems to enjoy these books. They won the Booker Prize. With John Irving, he just writes extremely long books. All of these writers, I've enjoyed hearing them talk about their writing, but I've not read their works. Last year, I read The Year of Reading Dangerously by Andrew Taylor. In that book, he argues the case of reading a set amount of pages each night until you reach the end of a book. Because over the last few days, I've been thinking about going back and reading these writers. I have begun to question whether, in the case of Lionel Shriver, I have read her books before. I've read We Need to Talk About Kevin and The Female of the Species, and I've given them both up. In my head, I've made her this very esoteric writer, this very aloof writer whose works I will never be able to get into, and I feel like she is a writer whose I will have to take more time with. I have read one chapter of The Post-Birthday World, and going slowly through it, although it is like wading through treacle, I have found that I have been comparing her somewhat to Dickens, and it's not necessarily that there's a magic in there yet. I haven't found the same magic that I would associate with Dickens. It's just the way that she structures words, and I feel like it's very thoughtful prose. And because of that, I wonder whether it's possible that it's more me as a reader who is used to being able to rush through books incredibly quickly, and whether I just need to take my time with this book, say in a fashion of Andrew Taylor with The Year of Reading Dangerously, of just reading 50 pages a day and just getting through it that way. It would take 9 days, but why is that a problem? I'm pretty confident that it will have taken Lionel Shriver longer than 9 days to write that book. What do you think about this topic? Personally, I do question whether writers would wish for us to spend more time on their works. I'm currently reading The Tiger's Wife by Taya Obret again, and that is a book that, in a similar fashion to Lionel Shriver now, I do find myself having to take my time with it. The first time around, I know it took me 10 days to read, and now I've been on this book for nearly a fortnight. I have read other stuff in between, and it's not necessarily been a book that I wanted to pick up. It's a book that I want to finish again, and I do want to reread, but I've been finding a lot more in there related to folklore. It's a lot more different when you're properly involving yourself with the text and getting in there and making sure that you understand everything that's going on and you're reading all these historical things and not letting anything pass you by than it would be ordinarily when I'm reading so quickly that I might have missed something, and then I'm wondering where this character turned up from because didn't she disappear to Spain 50 pages ago, and she appeared again 5 pages ago and I didn't even notice, and it's only just struck me that I'm not actually absorbing the text, whereas I know that if I go slower, I do actually absorb more of the text that way. I mean, it's one of the reasons that I read Lonesome Dove over a very long period last year, and it went on to become one of my favourite books. I know there are definitely books there that I have spent less time with and remembered more, but in the case of Pachinko last year by Minion Lee, I put that book in my top 10 of the year. I read that book extremely quickly. I adored it. I want to go back and reread it. I think that it is possibly one of my favourite books for introducing me into a part of the world that I don't know. But I do question, would I have got more out of it had I read it more slowly? Would I have ended up actually feeling completely different if I'd sat there and absorbed it more? I think that some books you are meant to mull over and spend your time with, and even if they're only like 180 pages, in a similar fashion to the Throwback special last year, there is sometimes a lot to unpick in there. There's a lot to take in. Angela Carter's Bloody Chamber stories. Those are stories that I still keep meaning to go back to and properly try and figure out all of the references, because I feel like there is a lot in there. And I feel like then you do actually have novels that you aren't necessarily supposed to mull over. They're there for entertainment value. If you care about the characters' lives, then that is usually the most you're going to get out of it. You can care about the characters, you can get involved in the story, but you don't necessarily have to be trying to absorb everything and politically, historically, culturally that the writer has included in there. Do you, in actual fact, think there are books that the author intends for you to mull over? And do you think there are books that are purely there for your entertainment value? I do. I think that definitely this year I am going to be taking my time to read some more of the books that I need to mull over and properly integrate myself with. But I know there are probably also going to be these lighter books that I might actually really enjoy, might end up on favourites lists, but they are in completely different worlds, completely different categories. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.